Hey y'all, Bob with Million Mile Garage. We're working on a 2005 Honda Odyssey CV axle today. You can see this one's pretty well done. It's been done for a while actually. And we're also going to go ahead and we're going to remove the center support bearing. We're going to change the drive shaft seal out on the transmission while we're at it today. And there's 3 fasteners holding the center support bearing bracket to the side of the engine block. So let's get going. Okay, disassembly was pretty straightforward. Just took out the 2 big bolts, swiveled the steering knuckle out of the way, used a brass drift to drive the shaft out, and now she's just hanging. Hey, just showing you all what I did. I dropped the shield down. There's I think there's only 2 fasteners holding the shield on. Well, maybe 3. There's 3. And there's 1 fastener where you can see I've got this wrench resting on it. It's pretty hard to get to with that shield in place. And then of course there's one up top here that's not too bad to get to. Right there. I'm down to the last fastener. I'm using one of these really handy ratcheting wrenches, and they work really good. Okay, that wasn't much of a challenge. All I did was just lift it off. I didn't even, I guess it doesn't even click in on that end like the other side does. So I guess the center support, I guess all the snap rings are, I guess, inside that center support where the 2 axle shafts go together. So that came out easy. So I've just got to basically just finish wiggling it there in between the oil filter and the exhaust manifold, and that's going to come right out. On the floor, just show you all something real quick. There's the, I guess they call it the heat shroud. It only has 3 fasteners. I think I got confused before, and I think I also said there were 4 fasteners holding the center support to the engine block. There's only 3, one here, here, and here. The smaller ones, of course, are for the shroud, and the ones for the shroud are a 12 millimeter, look like that, and then the ones that hold the center support on are 14s, and they look like that, and they're all the same size. So the only thing I have to do now is separate these 2 halves, and then I'll check the condition of the seal and the center bearing, which looks like it's probably okay. I greased it the last time I changed this out, probably like 7 years ago. Okay, just a little more. Pretty talented I'm doing this one-handed, right? All right, you can see the splines are exposed. I'm going to end up dropping this on the floor on my foot, so I'm going to stop filming here. Next shot, we'll have it off. Okay. Bearings look, they still look pretty juicy. I'm going to say that seal is still nice and pliable. And I think part of the reason that is it's got a heat shield, protects it from the exhaust, and then also it's pretty well isolated from the heat of the transmission from here to here, even though I know obviously the shaft, right, is going to conduct some heat, but it's also going to radiate a lot. And of course this isn't going to be real hot either. Of course this side over here, it gets all the heat from the disc brakes, and it has to do all the articulating, right, moving up and down and steering. That's that. And I'm going to say on most of this late model car stuff, since they tend not to rust away and the engines don't really wear out, it seems like the big Achilles heel on all of these are the elastomers. All of the seals that get dried out and fail, and then you have to keep taking them apart and replacing them. If they could come up with an elastomer that would last the length of the rest of the vehicle, you would almost have a maintenance-free vehicle. So after spending about 15 minutes looking for where I set this seal, which I'm pretty sure was up here 2 years ago, but God only knows, right? I can see a Timken bearing box peeking out there up against the wall behind the water heater. I'm pretty sure that's where it is. There we go. Yep, I think that's it. All right, let's take a look at this Timken 350609. We'll go with that. That's what it says on there. And this is what they sent me for a 2005 Honda Odyssey for the passenger side. I guess you would call that the axle shaft seal, transmission seal, output shaft seal, whatever. And let's come over here and see what we got. I wiped this down. I haven't cleaned it up yet. And let's just see how this fits. I think there's just a little bit of excess clearance. What do you think? Rock Auto. All the wrong parts your car will never need. Rock Auto. Guess we're off to Advance Auto. Or O'Reilly's. Or AutoZone. Whoever has it, right? It's starting to look like a junkyard in here. Huh. Got my rotors back. Those look really good. All right, I smeared a little grease in there. I also noticed there's a snap ring holding this bearing inside here. I got a funny feeling this seal lip is just to keep contaminants out of the splines where the drive shaft goes in. There's the old snap ring. A lot of times a new one comes with the kit. I may or may not change that out. But everything looks fine. Can't hurt. And the seal I'm going to attempt to use is a Master Pro 710197. I got this at Advance Auto, and the reason I bought this one is that's the only one I could get the same day. So there's the one that Rock Auto sent me, and here's the one that I got from Advance Auto yesterday. A little difference in size. So let's see how this works over here. We're just going to see if it slides on the shaft. Yep, we have success. I'll take that. Not sure there's a best way to do this, but I like to use one of these angled pry bars, and I just come in and just kind of grab the seal. It doesn't take a lot of pressure, and they just pop out like that. I'm going to use a 1 5/16 socket to drive the seal in. Perfect fit. I'm just going to take a piece of 400 and just go over this a little bit just to give it a good surface for the new seal to bite into. I just want to take the shine off right there, and I just want to put a little bit of lines in the metal, of course, you know, going this way, not that way, because you'll rapidly wear the seal out. So I'm just going to, you know, put this on here like this and just spin the shaft a little bit and bring that around. There we go. I got most of the line out. Again, I just want to just give a little bit of a surface for the oil to hold on to while it wears that new seal in, so you don't wear the seal lip out prematurely. Nothing crazy, just clean it up just a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to stick my finger in this bottle of ATF, and we're just going to put a little bit of lube around the shaft, and those very fine lines I put in with the 400 grit paper will hold some of that oil, even though you're going to get some squeegee action when you drive it into that seal. Hey, on second thought, I'm also going to put a little grease on that seal as well, just as an added measure of protection. Can't hurt. Okay, I got the seal in, and I actually pressed it in with this socket. I was able to use my big meaty hands and just press it in. You know, it's just a rubber coated cage on the seal. It went in fairly easy. So if you're limited on space, like if you're trying to do this job with the exhaust system still in place, and you know, full disclosure, I can't remember if I mentioned it or not. I think I showed you all the oil pan. I'm doing this job with the exhaust system and the oil pan out of the way, which actually makes it somewhat easier. But anyway, that seal went in pretty good. Noticing that I basically have it flush with the case so that the dust lip is standing proud above the case. That's how it should look before you put the shaft back in. If you drive this seal down too low, and you can, because the case does not have a stop built into it, you can actually just push this down too far. It's not going to bottom out. So you want to be real careful when you're pressing that in, because if you go too far, that seal is not going to be out far enough to actually grab the shaft and seal it, and you'll end up with a leak. Okay, I drove it in, or actually slid it in. Notice the shroud is loose, and I'm going to tell you, this bottom one right here, That's the fastener to put in first. I had a hard time getting it to line up, and the shroud kept getting in the way. It's very frustrating. But you want to make darn sure you don't cross thread into this aluminum block, because actually showing you here the oil pan still off the car. This is from the oil pan job we did previously. So this is kind of filmed out of sequence, just so you know. But anyway, that one, I had a hard time getting it to line up. You want to make darn sure that it's not cross-threaded, because if you cross-thread that in this block, that is going to make for a really long day. So just got this dangling, and I'm just going to go in and add the other two main fasteners, torque those down, and then put the fasteners in for the heat shield, and we should be all set. A helpful tip number 1001, one of these bolts out of the three does not have a shoulder on it, and that goes in the uppermost hole. It goes in this one right here. That's the one you use without the big shoulder on it. And you'll know right off, because the one with the big shoulder won't go through the hole. And it's probably hard to tell just by looking at it here, but you can see that's a little larger hole than the one up there that just went in. So basically the two shouldered ones go down low, and then the uppermost hole does not use a shoulder on it. Okay, we're going to be using an Advance Auto CarQuest brand CV axle, mainly because they have a lifetime warranty. So I think I'm working on warranty number 2. That's nice. It's nicely packaged. We'll get it out of the package and show it off. Okay, we got her out of the bag. It's got a new nut attached on that end, although I never dimple them, never had a problem, but probably not the right way to do it, right? Over here, it's got 3 scallops in it, like a Honda unit would have had. Might even use the same boot. I have noticed that this later version of CarQuest brand is a lot quieter than the other one I had, and this is the one laying on the floor over here. And you notice it does not have the fly cuts in it. It's round all the way around. And I always thought the splines fit a little loose, especially on the driver's side. It was very clunky. I'm hoping that the new one on this side will be quieter like the replacement one was that I put on like 2 years ago on the driver's side. But we'll drive it in and see what happens. And just walking over here real quick. She's all cinched down, ready to go in. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring it in and stab it in on that end, and then bring it around and stick it through the hub here on that end, bolt it all back up, and I'm good to go. Okay, we're getting ready to stab it in. I stuffed a little grease in the splines just because. There we go. She's in on this end. Then we're going to come down right here. I've already put a little grease on the splines on the hub end just because. And we're going to just work this around, and this should just come right on. There we go. All right, that's in. I'll probably go ahead and just stick the nut on here so it doesn't come out. All right, the other thing I'm probably going to have to do is I don't want to pull this CV joint apart. I want to be real careful about that. What I might do is very carefully steer this around. See if I can get that to turn. Yep. We'll do that. Then I was hoping I can just push this back. That should line up. Steer it around a little more. There we go. Stick a bolt in. All right, it's on its way to being back together. We got that in, that looks good. I just don't have this bolted down. You see this? That's in there like it should be. Yep, that looks good. Just gotta tighten this down. All right, she's in. Looks good, sounds good. All right, success. Hey, just an observation. This is the nut that came off of the old axle. It takes a 36 millimeter, and this is the nut that came with the new axle. and it takes a 35 millimeter. It's actually smaller. You can see how wobbly that is. That's not going to work, but it fits just fine in here, and obviously the larger one won't go in. So I don't know who decides that, but I wish these axle manufacturers would make up their mind. Just pick a size and stay with it already. Now I know the manufacturers always say to use a torque wrench to install the retainer nut for the axle. Here's my big 36 millimeter socket, and of course my air wrench set to number 2 setting. And I think it's a pretty high number. It's like, I don't know, 300, 350 foot-pounds. If you look at the beefiness of the hub that this thing passes through and attaches to, you know, it's a huge sealed bearing, and it's got a hub with splines that passes through the bearing. I've changed these bearings out before too. They're not real pleasant to do, but that is a very substantial hub that axle passes through. And you know, they talk about possibly damaging the bearing if you use an impact wrench or hurting the transmission. Transmission's in neutral. I got zero issues with doing that, so I'm just going to put this one on and just drive it home. That sucker ain't coming off. And also, I don't peen them in either. This thing is pretty much captured. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. I'm just saying that's what I do. I've never had one be loose when I've taken the wheel off and checked it. And when we get this back on the ground, I'll get a big bar out and just show you. But just driving that thing on with the number 2 setting, that thing is on there. It ain't gonna come loose. So anyway, that's just me. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, and don't try this at home because I'm not a professional and I don't do this every day. But that's just what I do. All right, I think the torque on this is like 250. So I've got a jack handle slid over a long extension, and even though I put this on with an impact wrench, I know I didn't put it on like super tight. I'm just going to go in and just check it and see if I can get it to move. You got to really see, you got to really lay into it. I would like to just see it move a little bit, just so I know where I got it. Okay, I got it to move a little. That's really tight. So that ain't coming off. Some people choose to peen it in right there. I just leave it. I've never had one come loose. I'm not saying that's the right way to do it, but that's the way I do it.